Prince William's wife underwent abdominal surgery, with a January 17th statement from Kensington Palace saying at the time that the Princess of Wales was admitted to the London clinic yesterday for planned abdominal surgery.
She talked about how challenging and scary and uncertain that period had been for her family.
There are moments in history when the world stops moving, when millions of people scattered across continents pause whatever they're doing and hold their breath together. November 2025 became one of those moments. Not because of war or disaster, but because of something far more human, a family, a crown, and a truth too heavy to keep hidden anymore. This is the story of how the British royal family broke its oldest rule and what happened when they finally chose honesty over image. Mental health matters deeply to both of us, and we'll never stop working to end the shame around it. Those words from Prince William echoed through royal halls for years. But nobody expected what was coming next. Nobody saw the cracks forming behind palace walls, or understood just how close everything was to falling apart. And at the center of it all was Catherine, the Princess of Wales, fighting a battle the world knew nothing about.
London and Kensington Palace, that the Princess of Wales has cancer. As she revealed there that she underwent major abdominal surgery in London.
The signs nobody wanted to see. It started with whispers, small things that didn't quite add up. A canceled trip here, a postponed event there. The palace kept saying she needed rest, but Britain had learned to read between those careful lines. Something wasn't right. For 3 days, rumors spread like wildfire through London streets and social media feeds. Where was Catherine? Why wasn't anyone talking? The silence felt wrong, almost dangerous. Then came that cold morning at Sandringham. King Charles stepped through those heavy doors with William beside him, and everyone knew this wasn't just another royal appearance. Charles looked older somehow, his movements careful and slow. William stood there, pale and tense, staring at the cameras waiting beyond the gate. Neither man spoke right away. The only sound was wind moving through bare trees and crows calling overhead. When Charles finally cleared his throat and began speaking, his voice carried weight that went beyond words. Catherine faces health challenges that require her to step back from public life.
The Princess of Wales, who stepped back from work and public events after undergoing abdominal surgery in January, has been keeping tabs on a UK study commissioned and funded by her Royal Foundation Centre,
he said. We're asking for understanding as she continues treatment. William stepped forward then, his voice quieter, more personal. She's resting at home. Her strength comes from faith and from the kindness so many of you show her. The whole thing lasted less than 2 minutes. Before leaving, Charles put his hand on William's shoulder, a gesture that said everything their words couldn't. Then both men turned and walked back toward the chapel, leaving the press standing frozen in a moment that felt both historic and heartbreaking. Nobody moved, nobody spoke, because everyone understood that behind those few sentences lay weeks of silence, struggle, and a truth far deeper than anyone outside could grasp. What led to this announcement wasn't just about Catherine's health. It was about the quiet breaking of a family that had spent centuries hiding pain behind protocol. Just days before that announcement, life at Anmer Hall seemed almost normal. Autumn leaves turned gold around Catherine and William's Norfolk home.
Kate has been hiding at her country estate at Anmer Hall following a mysterious abdominal surgery back in January. Anmer Hall had been William and Kate's main residence.
The kids went back to school, George, Charlotte, and Louis, settling into their routines. For a brief moment, everything felt manageable again, but people close to Catherine noticed something different. That warmth she always carried, the glow that made every room brighter, seemed dimmer somehow. It started with small things, missed events, postponed appearances. She smiled through all of it, insisting she was just tired, nothing serious. Even William believed her at first. Catherine always put others first. She never wanted anyone to worry about her. Behind closed doors, though, her doctors were raising alarms. After her long recovery following treatment in 2024, new complications appeared. Not as severe as before, but enough to force her back into rest, back into pause mode. For William, that word felt unbearable. He'd watched her fight so hard to reclaim her life, and now it was slipping away again. King Charles learned about it immediately, still dealing with his own health problems.
King Charles III is sharing a rare health update amid his cancer battle. Over a year after the British monarch shared he had been diagnosed with an undisclosed cancer in February of 2024,
he understood what Catherine was facing better than most. People close to the family said Charles spent long evenings talking quietly with her on the phone. He admired how calm she stayed, but he also knew her absence would reopen wounds the monarchy couldn't afford. "She's the heart," Charles told an aide. "Without her, this family loses its balance." Inside palace walls, difficult conversations began. Should they tell the public? Should they protect Catherine's privacy or get ahead of rumors before things spiraled out of control? Camilla urged caution, reminding everyone of the storm that followed Diana's illness decades ago. But Anne, always direct, had a different view. "Truth never hurts as much as lies," she told William. "People forgive honesty. They won't forgive silence." That conversation tipped the scales. Within days, the decision was made. This time, they'd speak first. The first real signs came quietly, long before any announcement. People who worked with Catherine said it began with her voice, softer and thinner, like each word took effort. During a charity meeting for early childhood education in early October,
this week, the Princess of Wales is kicking off her biggest solo project yet, introducing Shaping Us to raise awareness for early childhood education at a glitzy reception last night.
she excused herself halfway through, saying she'd be fine. But her private secretary later admitted Catherine looked pale, her hands shaking as she held a water glass. That same week, her scheduled Manchester trip got suddenly postponed. The palace statement was vague as always. "The princess has decided to rest." Among royal reporters, unease grew. Catherine was known for reliability, for carefully balancing motherhood and royal duties. When she disappeared from view, something was always wrong. At Anmer Hall, life slowed to whispers. Staff spoke of drawn curtains and quiet evenings. William balanced his father's growing workload with his wife's health, canceling engagements without explanation. Behind every photo of him greeting officials or visiting schools was exhaustion he couldn't hide. In late October, Princess Anne made an unannounced visit to Norfolk, not for duty, for family. She spent 2 hours in the garden with Catherine, away from children and cameras. Later, when asked privately how Catherine was doing, Anne's answer was short and serious. She smiled the whole time, but her eyes didn't. When the family had to choose. The next day, Anne called her brother. "She's not getting better," she told Charles. "You'll have to step in." For Charles, it was a cruel reminder of his own decline. His recent medical treatments already limited his schedule. Now, realizing both he and Catherine, the two most admired faces of the modern monarchy, were unwell at the same time filled him with dread. A palace insider later described him as broken, yet determined to keep the family steady. Within days, Camilla and William traveled to Sandringham for a closed meeting. That's where the first draft of their joint statement began taking shape. William wanted transparency. "The country deserves truth," he said. "They've stood by us for years." Camilla disagreed. "They'll turn this into a spectacle," she warned. "You think compassion wins headlines? It doesn't." The discussion grew tense. William, usually calm, finally said, "This isn't about headlines. This is about her." Camilla didn't reply, but later when she left the room, she told an aide, "He sounds exactly like his mother." Meanwhile, outside palace walls, speculation spread fast. Paparazzi staked out roads near Windsor Great Park, waiting for a glimpse of Catherine's car. American tabloids ran headlines like, "Where is the princess?" Social media spun endless theories. The same question appeared across continents. The nation's most beloved royal was vanishing again. That's when Harry reached out. For the first time in years, the brothers spoke privately. According to one insider, the call was brief but emotional. "You know she's strong," Harry said. "Just don't let pressure crush her." William's answer was simple. It already has. In the final week of October, Catherine's condition worsened. Fainting spells, exhaustion, sharp fatigue. Doctors insisted she step away entirely from public life. For William, this was surrender, not to weakness, but to reality. The last straw came when George asked, "Is Mommy tired again?" William couldn't find words. That night, he sat at his desk, staring at his mother's old photograph, and finally made the decision that would change the monarchy's public image forever. He called Charles. "It's time," William said quietly. "No secrets this time." Charles didn't hesitate. "Then we'll do it together. Behind closed doors at Sandringham." The decision to go public happened behind tightly closed doors. The royal household had mastered secrecy for centuries, but this time, the burden was too heavy to hide. Inside Sandringham's blue drawing room, tension filled the air. King Charles sat by the window, his cane leaning against the armrest, his face carved in exhaustion. Across from him, William stood pacing, restless, protective, torn between duty and family. "Father," he said quietly, "if we delay, the truth will leak. It always does." Charles didn't respond right away. His gaze drifted beyond frosted glass to fields where his mother once rode horses in peace. "The monarchy survives," he murmured, "because we know when to speak and when not to." But this wasn't 1952. Silence no longer protected. It suffocated. William stepped closer. "This isn't about the crown anymore. It's about her. She's the reason people still believe in us." Camilla entered then, her calm presence masking the room's tension. She placed a file on the table, a proposed press statement drafted by Palace Communications. "If we release this," she said, "we must control the tone. No dramatics, no panic. The world needs stability, not despair." Anne, who joined the meeting silently, finally spoke. "Or we can show them something better. Honesty." Her voice cut through the air like a blade. "For once, we tell truth before tabloids twist it." The room fell quiet. Even Charles looked unsettled. There'd always been an unspoken rule in the royal family. Emotion was private. Duty was public. But now, those two worlds were colliding, and Catherine was the reason. Far from the palace at Anmer Hall, Catherine sat in her conservatory, surrounded by gentle Norfolk countryside sounds. Her hands rested on a folded blanket, her tea untouched. Outside, the children played, laughter floating faintly through open windows. She could hear George calling his sister and Louis, giggling somewhere near apple trees. Her lady-in-waiting, Mrs. Parker, approached quietly. "Ma'am," she said softly, "His Majesty is preparing the announcement. They'll go public tomorrow." Catherine nodded slowly. "It's the right thing." Her voice was calm, almost peaceful. "The world deserves honesty, even if it's painful." For a moment she stared at the garden, sunlight catching leaves just so. "If I've done one thing right," she whispered, "it's teaching them to face fear with grace." That evening, William returned from Sandringham, his face pale but resolute. He found Catherine sitting by the fireplace, wrapped in a soft gray shawl. When he knelt beside her, she reached for his hand and smiled faintly. "You've carried me long enough," she said. "Now let them carry you." He looked at her, eyes glistening. "I don't know how." She squeezed his hand gently. "By telling them truth. That's what real strength looks like." The next morning, the statement was finalized. Simple, restrained, but honest. It would be read by both men together, a decision that hadn't happened since George VI's days. As dawn approached, Buckingham Palace buzzed with quiet urgency. Advisors, security teams, communications officers moved briskly through corridors. No one spoke above whispers. In the midst of rush, a single note from Catherine's private secretary was delivered to Charles's desk. It read, "Thank you for letting me be seen as I am, not perfect, but human." The king folded the note carefully and kept it in his breast pocket throughout the day. The moment the world stood still. When the world finally heard the words, "The Princess of Wales is facing a recurrence of health challenges,"
Catherine, Princess of Wales, detailing the treatment she is now undergoing. Let's talk to our health correspondent.
something extraordinary happened. For once, there were no jeers, no cynicism. Across London, people stopped. Outside palace gates, strangers held candles. In cafes from Birmingham to Boston, news anchors spoke of Catherine not as a royal, but as a woman of courage. In that moment, the monarchy, so often accused of coldness. The morning of November 8, 2025, broke gray and solemn across Britain. Every network, from BBC to CNN, cleared its schedule. Across the world, millions waited for a broadcast that felt heavier than politics, more personal than tradition. For the first time in royal history, King Charles and Prince William would stand side by side to deliver a joint address, a moment that would define not just a family but a monarchy on the edge of transformation. At exactly 9 o'clock, cameras went live. The two men appeared not from Buckingham Palace, but from St. James's drawing room, a deliberate choice. The space was warm, intimate, lined with soft light, and framed by a single photograph of Princess Catherine holding her children. There were no guards, no gold drapery, no symbols of distance, only humanity. Charles began. His voice was low, controlled, trembling just enough to show emotion beneath. Over the years, he said, the Princess of Wales has shown the world what quiet strength truly means. Today, she faces renewed challenges to her health. We wish to share this with you as she herself asked, with honesty and gratitude. The silence between his sentences wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, letting gravity settle over the room. As a father and as a king, Charles continued, I've never been prouder of her courage. She remains at home surrounded by family, and as always, she continues thinking of others before herself. Then William spoke. His tone was steadier, younger, but no less heartfelt. Catherine wanted you to know she's still fighting. Her faith, her doctors, and your kindness give her strength every day. She asked me to say this. Don't be sad for me. Just keep showing the world what kindness can do. When he finished, he lowered his head for a moment, not as a prince, but as a husband. The air in the room was so thick with emotion that even cameramen reportedly wiped their eyes. Then something happened that no one expected. Charles reached out and placed a hand on his son's shoulder. The gesture was brief but unmistakable, a public show of love in a family that had long hidden behind protocol. It was the image that would appear on every front page the next day. Outside, crowds gathered spontaneously across London. In Green Park, people stood silently holding candles. Westminster bells rang slowly, not for mourning, but for hope. Social media filled with messages. She fought for us. Now we'll fight for her. What happens when the heart of the monarchy pauses? The morning after their joint address, London woke to a silence that felt sacred. Streets that usually buzzed with chatter were filled instead with reverent quiet, as if the entire city had collectively paused to breathe. Across the Thames, flags fluttered at half-mast, not by royal decree, but by public will. People had taken ownership of their grief, their hope, their love for a woman who'd become more than just a princess. At Buckingham Palace, aides described the aftermath as emotional calm after a storm. The family, though relieved truth was finally out, now faced unpredictable ripples of public reaction. Palace phone lines overflowed with messages. Cards arrived by the truckload, many addressed simply to Catherine with love. In the courtyard, bouquets of roses and lavender began piling up, a sea of color beneath gray skies. King Charles, exhausted but composed, spent the day reading letters from citizens. One written by a 9-year-old from Yorkshire said simply, "Please tell the princess she's my hero." The king folded the letter and set it beside his desk. People close to him said he looked older that morning but lighter, as if speaking truth had finally lifted a burden decades in the making. As weeks passed, Britain found itself living in an unfamiliar kind of quiet. Not silence of uncertainty, but silence that follows an awakening. The realization that even the most powerful families are built not on crowns and ceremony, but on love, fragility, and the will to endure. In that silence, Princess Catherine became something more profound than a royal figure. She became a mirror, reflecting back to people their own capacity for courage. Across the United Kingdom, she was spoken of not with pity, but with reverence. Mothers told daughters her story. Doctors referenced her resilience in hospitals. Teachers used her calm composure as a lesson in grace under pressure. Her illness, though deeply personal, turned into something universal. It reminded the world that pain can coexist with dignity, that vulnerability, when faced with honesty, doesn't weaken, it humanizes. And perhaps that's why Catherine's journey struck such a deep chord, because it spoke to quiet strength in every person who's ever carried the weight of their world and smiled anyway. From a broader lens, her story also carried a lesson for the institution she represents. For centuries, the monarchy survived by building walls between ruler and ruled, between appearance and truth. But in 2025, those walls began to crack and light poured in. William's honesty, Charles's humility, and Catherine's grace showed that transparency doesn't diminish royalty, it renews it. In that moment, something subtle but seismic shifted. The crown, once a symbol of distance, became a vessel for empathy. It was no longer about perfection, it was about perseverance. And in a world drowning in noise, Catherine's quiet strength became a reminder that sometimes the most powerful statement is one spoken softly. So where does this leave us? Watching from wherever you are in the world right now, what does this moment mean to you? Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. If Catherine was the glue holding this family together, what happens when that glue begins to fade? The monarchy stands at a crossroads between fragility of human life and the weight of duty. The world waits for updates. But behind palace curtains, a deeper story unfolds, one that will forever redefine what it means to serve, to lead, and to love in silence. Share your thoughts below. Where are you watching from today? And what does courage look like to you? Your voice is part of this story too. Because even in the grandest palaces, it's often the quietest hearts that hold kingdoms together.